Good afternoon, everyone. Today we will learn about chi-square test, which is one of the non-parametric statistical tests. A chi-square test is a test used as a test of significance when we have data that are given in terms of frequency. So this is the symbol of chi-square, and this is its formula. So it means that chi-square equals to summation of the square of observed frequency plus expected frequency divided by expected frequency. So before explaining the formula, let's learn a little bit about what is chi-square. So chi-square test is specially used when the data is given in terms of frequency, and it doesn't require the assumption of normal distribution. In normal distribution, it usually happens that the data which are near mean are most frequent in occurrence than data far from mean. So it doesn't have to be that way, normally distributed, but the data have to be in frequency. For example, when we say frequency, for example, such as tossing a coin. When you toss a coin 20 times, so the result will be either head or tail. So what we expect here is that the chances of coming head is 1 by 2, which is 50%, and the chances of coming tail is 1 by 2, 50%. So when you toss a coin, the chances of 50% chances is there for the outcome to be head and 50% to be tail. So this is what the frequency is. So when you toss a coin 20 times, so our the expected frequency would be 20 by 2, which is 10 head and 10 tail. So this is a perfect expected frequency. So you expect that the result would be 10 head and 10 tail. So this is the expected frequency. But in actuality, when you actually toss a coin, what had happened that the expected and the result may not be the same, the perfect 10 head and 10 tail. So the observed here, when you, for example, if you toss a coin and then the answer is 5 head and 15 tail. Tossing coin 20 times, you find that your answer is, instead of 10 head and 10 tail, which you expected, but this was the result. This was the observed frequency. Observed mean when you actually do the test. This is the theoretical and this is the result one. So this is called observed frequency. So when a data is especially given in frequency, that's when you use a chi-square. So chi-square is actually it was also named as a fit test because it is a test determining how will the experimentally obtained result, this is the experimentally obtained result, fit in the result expected theoretically, and this way you will form a hypothesis whether the expected result is related or correlated with the observed frequency. So these are the example of the frequency, especially the data when is given in frequency, you will form a hypothesis. So if you don't know what the hypothesis mean, hypothesis is when you form some kind of theory and then you test whether this theory can be accepted or rejected. Using chi-square, we can know whether the form hypothesis is accepted or it can be rejected. So the hypothesis, another kind of hypothesis that we form in chi-square is null hypothesis. Null hypothesis. So null hypothesis is when you actually you theoretically you reject your assumption is assumption that you will reject the theory that was given in the data. So null hypothesis is assumption that the theory is rejected, and by using chi-square and seeing whether the significant value, we will either accept the null hypothesis, that is the assumption that you have rejected the already formed theory, or you reject the null hypothesis. When you reject the null hypothesis, it means that you have accepted the theory that was formed before formulation of before testing the data through chi-square. So chi-square is chi-square, we have certain steps of how to calculate a data using chi-square. So just don't be confused, and if you have any confusion, I will clear your doubts. So in the next video, I will show you some of the examples of chi-square. Before that, I'll show you the steps of chi-square and then the examples of chi-square, and through that you will be able to understand in a better way how to determine or calculate data through chi-square. So just the points to be remembered is that chi-square is specially used when the data is given in terms of frequency. So frequency, and then and another point is that it is a test for determining how will the experimentally obtained result will fit in with the expected result, and then hypothesis will be formed. Hypothesis, and then another is null hypothesis. So hypothesis is whether you accept the theory, and the null hypothesis is whether assumption of rejecting the theory. So, and that way, and finally we will see the significant. So if okay, so right now I'll close my video, but then in the next video I'll tell you the steps of chi-square and some of the samples example of chi-square. Thank you.